Hey folks, welcome back to Let's Play Lost Odyssey on the Mysterious JG. We got another memory. Yippee. This is a Kime one, so don't expect it to have anything to do with the story. Like, Seth's memory gave us a little of our background. Kime's, I think it's just going to be about how he's a brooding twink. Twink is probably not a word I should use. A dream has been revealed. I'm not sure I even know what it means. Suppose you could always look those words up. The hero was a home from the war. He had performed gallantly on the battlefield, advanced to the rank of general, and made a triumphant entry into the village of his birth. That's a weird... Should have an Italian guy talking about someone who was successful at war? Oh, sorry. The villagers welcomed him with a festive celebration. The grown-ups were treated to drinks beginning in the afternoon, and the children received the sweet confections. The cattle and sheep in the pastures that supported the villagers' livelihood, whether because they were excited by the unusual commotion or were welcoming the hero in their own way, sent especially shrill cries reverberating into the blue summer sky, and they were given the best greens in the village. General, you are the pride of the village. Obviously full of pride himself, the head of the village thrust out his chest and delivered his congratulatory address in the welcoming ceremony. To think that the foremost hero in the army came from this tiny village is so incredibly exhilarating and gratifying. I am sure our ancestors were overjoyed as well. The throng crammed into the village square, burst forth with cheers and applause. According to the official figures released by the army the other day, General, you brought down at least 200 enemy soldiers with your own hand. A thunderous roar shook the square, and people seem to really misunderstand what a general does in war. Come to think of it, the population of this village is less than 1,000. This means, sir, you managed to bury more than two of these villages worth on your own. How fortunate for us that you were not one of the enemy. Even by any chance there had been a warrior of your caliber on their side, we'd all be resting in the hilltop graveyard by now. A few of the women frowned momentarily at this remark, but the men, full of liquor, responded with an explosive laugh. Sitting stage center, the general lightly stroked his dignified beard. No one present knew that this was his habit whenever he was perplexed. He left his village to join the army. He was just an ordinary soldier, a long way from growing a beard. He didn't even know he was gay, much less did he know he would have to marry a woman to cover it up. Hence a beard. General, you are truly the savior of our army and indeed of our entire nation. I understand that you will be leaving for another battle tomorrow, but we hope that you will thoroughly enjoy yourself on this rare visit to your birthplace. The village chief ended his greetings and withdrew to the wings, whereupon the village's number one entertainer bounded onto the stage in the most comical way he could manage. "Dear General," he cried, running over to where the great man was seated and getting down on his knees. "Oh, hear my plea." See, I don't do a Gallagher impression, but this is their greatest entertainer. I feel like you should talk like Gallagher, so instead of just making a clown. The general looked at him uncertainly. "Is there any possibility you would lend me the sword you said, if only for a moment?" Perplexed though he was by all of this, the general, impelled by the audience's applause and cheers, handed this man his tasseled and jewel-encrusted sword. The man bowed deeply as the sword entered his outstretched hands, and again he cried, "My gratitude knows no bounds." Pretending to stagger under the weight of the sword, he came to the front edge of the stage and held the weapon aloft. "And now, ladies and gentlemen, I will reenact the event that raised our dear general's fame to the heights in a single bound, when he hacked 18 of the enemy into little teeny bits." The audience cheered wildly, and the man with exaggerated movements and commentary swung the sword in a great arc. The audience knew exactly what he was doing, and the general had not only made a name for himself for strategic prowess, but was also widely acclaimed as a warrior on the battlefield. He did not rely solely on his weapons, but in the end leveled his opponents with his sheer physical strength. This, too, was a matter of the utmost pride for the villagers. By the way, Kime does not appear to be present in this memory. "Here we go. 1 man down, 2 men down. Flip sword back, 3 men down. 4th man slicing diagonally right through the shoulder. 5th man's head goes flying. Oof. Then 3 1, 6, 7, 8 men. What about that? I'll just skew you like this." The man thrust the sword through 3 imaginary opponents, and the crowd went wild. The general, too, broke into a smile and applauded. When he was through crapping, though... Crapping? Oops, sorry. Freudian slip there. When he was through clapping, though, he struck his beard again. I'm sure you can understand how I felt at the time sitting up on that stage. The old general says to Kime before taking... "I'm sure you can understand how I felt on the time sitting up there on that stage." The old general says to Kime before taking a sip of water from his leather pouch. His magnificent beard is completely white, so distant are the past events he is recounting. Oh, it's Guan Yu. He's old Guan Yu. Kaim nods in silence, and the general continues, as if mulling over every word. The more you know about war, the more you feel that way. I'm sure the villagers meant well. They just wanted to pay homage to their hometown hero. I don't know, of course. They weren't being the least bit malicious. My village is the nicest people in the world. Exactly why I found the whole thing so painful. I couldn't stand it after a while, those magnificent sons of bitches! Harking-gaping the men at the beats, the deeds of a hero are related in numbers. Surely the man who playfully swung at the general's sword on stage that day could never have imagined the ones who left their lives on the battlefields, the agonized expressions of their faces, the curse in their eyes as they stared into the nothingness. Yeah, but that's all right, too. People who live peaceful lives don't have to know much about such things. That's what people like us are for, to keep their lives away from the battlefields. Don't you agree, you magnificent son of a bitch? I read your book! Thanks to us and our killing of enemies, people we're supposed to protect don't have to know anything about the bloodiness of war. Damn cowards! Unless you believe that was the point of people killing each other. Kaim says nothing in reply. Without either affirming or negating the old general's words, he stares vaguely at the general's troops. If he were to affirm or negate the general's words, he would be expressing an opinion, and Kaim just cannot do that, not in these memories. What do you say your name is, magnificent son of a bitch? Suppose you've killed many enemy soldiers, and you can begin to count. There is no way I could count them all. I thought so. You have a flawless build. Ooh. Although your chest has not reached the full bloom of womanhood, the kind of thing can only be tempered on the battlefield. Only a man who survived one battle after another can carry himself the way you do, with complete naturalness. How does a man like you find himself driving a horse over a mountain to pass? Kaim is ready to leave without answering if the old man asks him such a question. But the old general inquires no further on Kaim's background. Instead, if he dares to ask me about this, I'm ditching. Instead, there's a sense of relief and the smile he bestows on the sight of Kaim resting his horses at the pass. I was 16 the first time I went into battle. After that, I just kept running from one fight to another until I made it all the way to general. First, old blood and guts guy from this small town, they called me. At first, I remember the faces of the men I crossed swords with and killed. Even if you don't try to remember them, they get carved into your memory. A terrible nightmare, sure. As try as I might, could never seem to wash off the stench of the blood that splattered my face and hands. There was hallucination, of course, but it got so bad that once I spent a whole day and night in the river trying to wash my eyes off. The general paused a moment to think about his story, then went on. But after a while, you get used to it. People just go up to Kaim, and Kaim himself is not an interesting character in any way. People just go... I guess the one story where he didn't help that girl by writing to her and either coming to rescue her or whatever, he was kind of an active... The fact that he wasn't an active participant in that and got called out for it is by far, I think, the of these stories. Even I got frustrated with it at the time. Like, thinking back, that was a better story than any of the others. But in the rest of the stories, Kaim just sits there and somebody else does a bunch of, like, quote, profound, end quote stuff to him. After a while, I get used to it. You get used to fighting, killing over and over again. Your body, your mind, your heart, just get used to it. That's how people are, so I stopped having nightmares. I killed all the enemy soldiers, laid my hands on. I forgot every last one of their faces. Same for you too now, Kaim, isn't it? Maybe so. It's like a curse. If you don't get used to it, your heart breaks. On the other hand, if you do get used to it, your heart probably ends up breaking somewhere deeper down. The general casts a fond glance on his resting troops, then, slowly shifting his gaze far down the mountain, he says, So that's what it was like for me back then, when I returned to my birthplace to drive. For the final event in the welcoming ceremony, several children mounted the stage. And now, in honor of the hero, the children will present to the general a floral wreath more marvelous than the greatest medal there ever was. The audience went wild again. When the children put the wreath on his neck, the general favored them with a warm smile. The first honest smile from the heart he had managed since climbing onto the stage, which had only happened a few seconds before, so it's not that big of a deal. And finally, is a special treat for the general, who has been galloping from one battlefield to the next in his native place. The children's chosen representative will read his own original composition, spelling out the joys of the peaceful life of the village. Uh-oh. This could get bad. With a look of grim intensity, a small boy barely old enough to go to school unfolded his composition and, gripping it 2 hands, began to read from it, straining to make himself heard.
First, I'm going to write about one of the nicest things that happened to me. At my house, we have a pasture with lots of cows and sheep. One cow had a baby 2 days ago. I helped my daddy by stroking the cow's back with a handful of straw while she was having the baby. That makes the cow warm up so it's easier for her to give birth. The baby was born just before the sun came up. It was a tiny baby, but it could already stand on its own legs. A baby, wow. I'm going to take care of this baby until it gets big. Dear little calf, hurry up and grow, okay?
Everyone booed the terrible story. The general had the tears in his eyes.
Now I'm going to write about one of the saddest things that happened to me. That was when my grandma got sick and died. She was such a nice grandma. I know her sickness made her feel bad, but she was always smiling when I was around. She let me hold her hand when she died. I watched her face the whole time because I knew I wouldn't be able to see her anymore, and I wanted to remember her even after I grow up. She just kept smiling and smiling for me right until the very end. That's why she is always smiling when I think of her. Are you looking down on me from the sky, Grandma? I will forever forget you as long as I live.
At this point, the general stood up and threw the kids down and said, "This is a terrible story. That was not very well written. You did not make me care about Grandma before she was dying. Don't you understand this is maudlin claptrap? Now, go write a story where you and Grandma are colored in with details as characters, like JG is telling them." Tears were streaming down the general's face. He was disgraced. The town disowned him for having such an unmanly display of emotion. Suddenly, the background changed. When the ceremony ended, the general left his village and headed for the town where army headquarters were located. There, he wrote a long letter to the king and gave his sword to his most trusted lieutenant. The general had decided to retire. The end? It's a nice story if it just ends there. This is as big a surprise to me as it was to anybody. But when I heard that little boy's essay, it occurred to me. What makes us really human is to celebrate each life that comes into the world, and mourn each life that is lost. I don't need medals anymore. I didn't need the honor of being allowed in the presence of His Majesty anymore. I wanted to be a real human being again. Yeah, because soldiers aren't real human beings. Thanks, Lost Odyssey. Thank you for that. As a result, overnight, I went from being the village hero to being reviled as a traitor. They took my picture down to the Pentagon. They accused me of being a communist because I actually read the Communist Manifesto, which I was supposed to do because I was supposed to learn about how the enemy thinks. The general turns to Kaim and asks, "So are you going to mock me as a coward who ran away from the battlefield or blame me for being a deserter betrayed for his own patriotism?" Kaim returns his gentle smile to the old man. "I don't give a fuck what you do. I don't even know who you are. I'm trying to just get out of this memory and back to the adventure." "I mean, neither," he says. "As a soldier, you made the wrong decision, but as a human being, you made the right one." The general strokes his white beard and says, "My habit has changed too. Nowadays, I find myself stroking my beard when I'm embarrassed." The two men look at each other and smile because somehow the Italian narrator's disappeared. "Okay, back to work," says the general, standing within the grunt. He calls out to his troops. "All right, man, it's all downhill from here. Let's give it one last push and get back to the village before sunset." The troops under the general's command consist of 30 sheep, and not one of whom is likely to take a person's life unless he crosses them. "Tell me, Kaim, are you planning to go back into battle at some point?" "I don't really know," he replies. "I don't really know anything." "I'm content with herding sheep for now," the general says. I don't think I have the least regret for the decision I made that day. It would make me happy to think this could be a kind of lesson for you. Kaim says, "Shut up. I'm not listening to you. I don't need your help, old man." With this parting remark, the general turns away and Kaim begins walking. Sheep amble along after him in his newly reformed ranks. Standing at attention, the general raises his arm and waves his troops on. Forward march. The command he once delivered to tens of thousands of men he left on the battlefield now echoes pleasantly among the mountains of his native village. And the moral of the story is, soldiers are bad and should retire and become shepherds. I discovered treasure hunt information deep in memory. Okay, never mind. Maybe I was supposed to do that, but I still don't feel like I was... Oh, that found me another treasure hunt. Okay. Alright, so there's a lookout tower on the far southwest end of town, I guess. I did see stairs over here, but I figured I wasn't following the instructions carefully enough. Well, I don't think this is a lookout tower. I do question... Oh, this is the lookout tower. Okay. I was going to question Split Infinity's understanding of the cardinal directions, but never mind, he's right. Dark Crystal Staff and Dark Crystal Ring obtained. I'm going to assume the Dark Crystal Staff is not for Kime. But we could find out what the Dark Crystal Ring is. Wind damage, magic killer, terror effect. It seems like it's a fun idea to pair these rings up with the weapon that has a similar name, but I don't know that that does anything in particular, and the rings really don't matter that much for your casters, because they don't do anything unless you physically attack. So you could give them rings for stuff like Status Ailment Affliction. It's like, well, I'm not going to get bonus damage from fire or anything, but at least I could do, I'd have a chance of, but it's still generally not going to be the best use of their turn. Anyway, cross the bread. Okay, hold on. Well, there's somewhere around here is 500 gold, and now was the point where I was supposed to talk to that guy and get the second treasure hunt info, but I guess I have to look it up. Treasure beyond the waterfall, hidden somewhere in Tosca village, a present for Kime from the children. Where do the children play? Okay, so there's a pot over here with money in it. This is probably it. That is probably continuing the story. Jump over wooden planks using the stepping stones. What? Oh. Told to examine something. Well, why did that not happen the first time? Whatever. All right, I got the Medusa's head. Would that make you immune to petrification? Yeah. So carry around an object that causes petrification, and you will become immune to petrification. That's how it works. All right. Well, that's the 21st treasure hunt. Okay. All right. So there's a healing. Kalolan is a guardian spirit of the village. You have to be good, or else he won't protect me. These kids are forced to live in servitude of the Kalolans. It's like, oh, they'll protect us, but only if we serve their every whim. Healing tank. Okay, that's what the... I don't even know that I said it out loud, but that's what the fact was telling me to look for. Climb the ladder near the north to reach the... to reach a chest, okay? And these Kololon statues are going to be important later, but it's important later for a side quest, so it's not... I don't think it's like critical for the story. Maybe it's not for a side quest. Maybe it's critical for the story. I don't know why I'm acting like I know. And there is a house to the northeast that Split Infinity wants us to enter. Road leads out of the village. We must avoid. It's dangerous out there. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. I wonder if these are the same house or not. This is Old Man Basso's house. Okay, this is the one I'm supposed to go to. There's a Seed of Terror. There's Old Man Basso. He's laid back. Welcome back, Chaim. Where you been all this time? Nobody's really that insistent on talking to me about who they are or why they know me. Four Seeds of Terror. And there's a Pipot pot. But I don't actually... looks regretful. No. How many seeds have I got? Because we've given them 40 so far, and we've got 8. So we do have the correct number of seeds for this point. All right, let's just check in. All right, there's nothing else for us in Old Man Basso's house, so the fact that he's got a Pipot seed is, or Pipot pot, whatever, is, I mean, it's worth knowing. He's one of this game's hideously misshapen dogs. Of all the people, it's Kai. Everyone, we've got a visitor.
I was going to play with my brother, but he's not home. Probably out getting into trouble again.
Slightly precocious. Furlum. Let's see. On the upper floor, there's a flare bomb. There's a key seed. Oh god, there's going to be another memory before we get done with all this. Well, thanks for business. Thanks for visiting. Business like Tashel. Thanks for businessing. This place isn't too fancy, but I hope you like it all the same. Oh, shh, quiet down. This mischievous kid is gonna jump out and scare somebody. She thinks he's not here. He is. He's mischievous. She's slightly precocious. They're the tag team of mischievous and slightly precocious. We got to see. There's a Flora bomb up here too. I think. Is it up here? Is it downstairs? It's downstairs. Seed is the main thing. No, it is upstairs. Damn it. Sorry. It's flare bomb's desperately important. I need to get this, or we could be in the final boss battle, and I'm like one flare bomb short of winning this whole thing. Well, we have exactly enough flare bombs, and you're like, JG, I remember that flare bomb you almost left behind in the Tosco village. Costco village. Yeah. All right, so there's another village, or there's another memory out of town. Oh, it says here, back to Jansen and agree to rest on his plea. What? Whatever, let's call it. Oh, no! Darn it! Okay, I thought I was going to get to save the game and then trigger this, but it did not happen exactly as I planned. Instead, we will call it a video now. When we come back next time, we have a dream. We have an awesome dream. Children in the park playing games in the dark. When we come back, Lionel Richie. I can't do a Lionel Richie voice, so you will be spared me trying to narrate in a Richie voice. But I'll do some kind of dumbass voice and undercut what's meant to be a serious story next time.